Welcome to the AI Checkpoints. Get ready to dive deep into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence. We're really on a mission here to cut through the noise and deliver the essential insights, maybe some surprising facts, and those aha moments you need to feel truly well-informed. Today, we're unpacking a truly groundbreaking topic, I think. It's the evolution of AI user interfaces. We're moving way beyond the simple chat interfaces we've all gotten pretty used to. To guide us, we've poured over two incredible sources from the Y Combinator YouTube channel. One's called AI Interfaces of the Future Design Review, and the other is what founders can do to improve their design game. Both of them feature the brilliant Raphael Shad, the creator of Notion Calendar.
Yeah, and what's really insightful from Raphael Shad, especially in that AI Interfaces of the Future video, is this fundamental shift he talks about in how we interact with software. He points out that, traditional software was mostly focused on nouns, think buttons, forms, text fields, static things.
Like the things you click on.
Exactly. But with AI, the design is increasingly revolving around verbs. These are actions, right? Auto-completing, auto-suggesting, gathering information, even executing whole workflows.
Verbs. I like it. It makes it sound much more active. So if we're moving from static nouns to these dynamic verbs, how do you even start to design an interface for that? For something that's always in motion, kind of.
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We're still very much figuring out how to visually represent these verbs. It's a whole new challenge.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means the way you interact with technology, your everyday tools. It's about to get a lot more intuitive, more powerful, and honestly, maybe a bit mind-bending.
Definitely mind-bending.
We're going to explore some really cutting-edge examples that give us a glimpse into this future. And then we'll try to connect that to the broader philosophy of what makes great design, especially now in this new AI age. Let's unpack this. Okay, first up, let's talk about the next generation of voice AI interfaces. We can kick things off with Vapey, Voice AI for developers. This tool, it was highlighted in that Y Combinator AI Interfaces the Future review, lets developers build, test, and deploy voice agents super fast, like in minutes, not months. The demo they showed felt astonishingly natural, really like a real conversation.
Yeah, what really stands out with Vapey is this concept they explored. Latency as the interface.
Latency as the interface, meaning the delay time.
Exactly. The speed of the AI's response isn't just a technical detail anymore. It's like a fundamental part of how you perceive its naturalness, its intelligence even. Vapey actually shows developers the milliseconds of delay for each response. It helps them build this intuition for how fast it needs to be to feel, well, human. Less delay, more human-like. Simple as that, almost.
So if there's even a tiny pause, your brain immediately flags it as not human.
Pretty much, yeah. And the demo also brought up a big challenge. The lack of what they called multimodal cues.
Multimodal cues, like visual feedback.
Right, visual stuff happening on screen while the voice is talking or processing. If the sound cuts out or there's no little spinner or icon showing it's thinking, it can be really disorienting,
Yeah, I can see that.
It makes you wonder how crucial it is to always pair visual indicators with voice interaction, especially when there's a screen involved. They also noted some issues with interruption handling, like the AI didn't always pause when interrupted, or sometimes it just completely missed the new question.
Oof, yeah, that's a huge barrier to making it feel like a real chat. Okay, staying with voice for a moment, there's Retail AI. This was really interesting too. It focuses on voice AI, but for live phone calls. In a demo from that same YC video, they showed a debt collection scenario. Don't worry, the user managed to dodge the debt collector.
Yeah, the impressive bit there was the AI's ability to adapt. So the system was told the user's name was Aaron, right? But when the user jumped in and said, no, this is Steve, the AI just rolled with it, seamlessly adjusted.
Okay, that is smart.
It really shows a capacity to learn from the conversation itself and adapt instead of just rigidly sticking to its script. Now, latency, the delay, that was still the main giveaway. It wasn't a human on the line. But, connect this to the bigger picture. This kind of tech could handle a huge chunk of first-line calls. Think customer service, basic inquiries. A human only needs to step in when things get complex.
Eliminates a lot of the repetitive stuff, the grunt work.
Exactly. And you still get rich transcripts for the human follow-up. It's taking that high-volume, kind of repetitive, noun-based call center interaction and turning it into a much more dynamic, adaptive, verb-based flow.
Okay, so we've seen AI making voice more adaptive. But what about when AI starts taking autonomous action? like actually going out, interfacing with websites, making calls for a business. That's where AI agents come in. Let's look at Gumloop. 10x your output with AI automation. This platform, also shown in the AI interfaces of the future review, uses this visual workflow on an open-ended canvas. Imagine like a next-gen flowchart where you can see and control every single step an AI agent takes.
Yeah, the canvas itself emerging as almost a new kind of document type for modeling these AI processes. That's more than just a visual thing. It's a real paradigm shift. It lets users literally like choreograph complex AI behaviors. You're moving from giving simple commands to setting up these sophisticated multi-step automations. It's absolutely a verb interface.
Choreographing AI, I like that visual.
Gumloop uses color to differentiate the notes, input, actions, output, which is helpful, but they did suggest in the review maybe a legend would make it even clearer. One challenge it brings up is designing for different zoom levels on these canvases. Like, how much detail do you show when you're zoomed way out versus zoomed way in?
Right, managing complexity.
And also, for a template to really show off what these tools can do, it needs to demonstrate multidimensional branching, not just a straight line A to B to C. It needs those decision points, those nonlinear paths to show the true complexity these AI agents can actually handle. It's funny, it's kind of what is old is new again, right? Like chip designers using flowcharts decades ago, but now they're interactive, they're alive with AI.
Totally. Okay, speaking of structure and intelligence, let's talk about Answer Grid, answers at scale. This thing is like a spreadsheet that's had way too much coffee. Give it a prompt, and it generates structured data. It's almost like every single cell has its own little AI agent working inside it.
Yeah, and a common design pattern you see, which Answer Grid uses well, is providing suggested prompts. Little buttons or clickable examples, right? Makes it super easy for users to just jump in and get started without staring at a blank box.
Takes the guesswork out.
Exactly. But what's really clever here, I think, is the ability to add custom columns after the initial data comes back. So you can guide the AI, okay, now go find this specific information related to what you already found.
So it's collaborative refinement.
Precisely. It's a great example of human-AI collaboration within that verb interface. Now, the big question with tools like this is always trust, right? How do you know the AI isn't just making stuff up? Answer Grid tackles this by providing inline sources, like footnotes in a paper, or you know how Perplexity uses those little numbered dots? Same idea. Lets you click and instantly validate the information. Builds confidence.
That's crucial. Okay, now let's shift gears slightly to prompt-to-output interfaces. These are pretty common. Now you give it text, maybe an image, and get back something complex. Let's start with Polya, an AI product designer at your service. Imagine designing like a whole web page or a graphic just by typing descriptions, maybe tweaking it with text, and then getting actual production-ready code out the other end. Polya, shown in that YC video, does this. It even takes multimodal input. You can upload a sketch. And we saw this hilarious loading message during the demo, assembling pixels with tweezers.
Huh. Yeah, that little bit of humor, it keeps you engaged while AI is churning away, because that's the main challenge with these prompt output UIs, right? The generation time for complex stuff can be significant.
Totally. Staring at a progress bar is boring.
Exactly. So Polya uses humor. Maybe a more technical crowd might prefer seeing a detailed log or step-by-step progress. Good prior art, like existing examples, you see this in flight search engines sometimes. They show you blurry, low-res results fast, while the better options are still loading in. It does raise some interesting design questions, though, like how do you build a richer prompt builder so users don't need to know fancy design terms like glassmorphic, that transparent frosted glass look?
Right, not everyone's a designer.
Maybe using something like Lego bricks of selectable design terms could work. And also, how do you give feedback back to the user about which parts of their prompt the AI actually understood or struggled with? Maybe using like little squiggly underlines or color coding on their input text. Help them learn to prompt better.
Oh, that's smart. Like spell check for prompts?
Kind of.
Yeah.
And what's really cool and innovative with Polya is how it handles iterative edits. If you ask for a change, it focuses only on the delta, just the difference, which makes it much faster and keeps things consistent. That's really design as a verb in action.
Okay, this next one is, well, it's pretty wild. Argyle, AI Video Studio. Argyle can create production-quality videos featuring a deepfake AI version of you. You type a script, choose things like camera angles, body language, and boom, it generates the video.
Yeah, Argyle's design approach to handling the latency, the waiting time, is really brilliant. Generating the full video with perfect lip sync, that takes minutes. But just generating the voice audio? That's fast.
Okay.
So as they showed in the YC review, Argyle trades fidelity for immediacy. It shows you a blurry, low-res version of the video first, but with the accurate audio playing immediately.
Ah, so you can check the script and delivery quickly.
Exactly. You can iterate rapidly on the script, the tone, the pacing, without waiting ages for the full video render each time. It's a very pragmatic trade-off, speeds up the feedback loop immensely. It does make you think, though. Could the UI for selecting things like body language or camera angles be brought closer to the script itself? Maybe you highlight a sentence and pick an action right there.
Like inline controls.
Yeah, something like that. That kind of tight, iterative, human-machine collaboration feels key for really complex outputs like video.
Definitely. Okay, finally, let's touch on adaptive AI interfaces. These are interfaces that change based on context. Take Zuni, a smarter email app for founders. Zuni, also featured in that Y Combinator review, dynamically changes its interface depending on what's in an email. So instead of having like a million static buttons, it suggests specific context-aware actions or responses.
What's really interesting about Zuni is its attempt to find the right level of abstraction for replying to email. It offers these predefined adaptive prompts based on the email content, but the user still has to process each email individually.
Right. It helps, but doesn't fully automate.
Which makes you wonder, what if the AI's best guess at a draft reply was already sitting there when you open the email? Then you could prompt at an even higher level, just making tweaks.
Like pre-filling the response.
Maybe. But Zuni does something else smart. When it needs specific input, like confirming a meeting time, it shows a dedicated UI element for that, not just a generic list of text boxes, much cleaner. And crucially, it uses single-letter keyboard shortcuts. This is interesting because while having buttons move around adaptively can be disorienting,
Yeah, muscle memory goes out the window.
keeping the keyboard shortcuts consistent for those adaptive actions can actually preserve that muscle memory. So C might always mean confirm time, even if the button appears in different places.
Clever workaround.
It is, but it also raises another usability issue. How do you stop people accidentally triggering hotkeys when they think they're just typing in a text field? That needs careful thought. But this whole dynamic, context-aware interface, it's really the epitome of Raphael Shad's verbs concept.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've seen all these incredible, sometimes slightly strange examples of how AI is reshaping interfaces. But what actually defines great design in this new era? Let's circle back to Raphael Shad's thinking, especially from that what founders can do to improve their design game video.
Yeah, Raphael really emphasizes that famous idea. Design isn't just about how something looks, it's fundamentally how it works.
The classic Steve Jobs quote, right?
Right, but Raphael takes it even a step further. He says design is also about how it's built. You can actually feel it, end to end, he argues. Whether thoughtful design was baked in from the start, right down to the loading states, the performance, the latency we talked about.
You can feel the craft or the lack of it.
Exactly. Which makes you consider, how do we make sure design thinking is truly integral to every stage of building something, not just a layer of polish added at the very end?
That's a big question for teams. He also talks about those 3 key ingredients for any successful product, right? Desirability, viability, feasibility.
Yes. Desirability, do people actually want this thing? Viability, can you build a sustainable business around it? And feasibility, can your team realistically build it? And Raphael strongly believes that design's core job is figuring out that first piece, desirability. Or, as he puts it, making something people want. That's the heart of it for him. And his next point is really compelling, especially given his background.
Right, he's got a technical background himself. He can actually build his own designs, which isn't always the case. And he really advocates for designers to be comfortable in the medium they're building in.
Yeah, he makes a really strong point. If software is ultimately made of code, then designers being close to that code, understanding it, gives them a massive advantage. Especially, he notes, when you're designing for these verbs, we've been discussing things like autocomplete or AI agents. Those aren't just static pictures.
They're interactive processes.
Exactly. He uses this great analogy. It would be totally crazy for a sculptor to just draw some plans on paper and hand them off to someone else to actually sculpt without ever touching the clay themselves.
Yeah, that sounds absurd.
So why, he asks, do we often think software design and engineering are these entirely separate disciplines? It really pushes you to ask, how can we foster more of these maker designers? People who can both envision and build, or at least deeply understand the building process. It's about breaking down those traditional silos.
That's a really powerful idea. But okay, what are those of us who aren't designers by trade? Like a lot of technical founders, maybe.
Right.
How do you get better at design? Raphael offers 3 really fantastic pieces of advice here.
Yeah, they're great. First, he says, simply learn by doing. You're going to make bad designs at first, he admits. That's okay. It's through actually doing it, making those mistakes, that you start to truly understand why a design works or why it doesn't. He puts it beautifully, saying you start to see this whole other dimension to the world. Almost like, his words, reading the world through a matrix lens. You start noticing design choices everywhere.
I love that analogy, seeing the code behind the reality.
Second piece of advice, surround yourself with beauty. And he clarifies, this isn't about being some kind of design snob. It's about intentionally absorbing good design from everything around you, physical objects, the ergonomics of software you use, architecture, anything. Develop your taste, he says, partly by just not tolerating badly designed things, whether they're cheap or expensive, and consciously evaluate why certain designs feel pleasant or intuitive or reliable. It's about actively cultivating your sensibility.
So pay attention to the details, basically.
Right. And his third tip, read some design books. He recommends a few classics. Grid Systems, which he mentions actually inspired the fiery orange color used in Chrome, his previous calendar app.
Oh, interesting.
Also, The Elements of Typographic Design, which teaches you to see type not just as picking a font, but as a core graphic element with its own structure and rhythm. And of course, The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman, the one with the famous confusing teapot on the cover. That book teaches the importance of clearly conveying a product's mental model, how users understand it works through its interface.
Those sound like foundational texts.
They really are. He says these books offer deep knowledge that fundamentally changes how you perceive the design world around you.
That's super practical, actionable advice for anyone looking to improve. Okay, finally, let's talk a bit about Raphael's own design process. It feels both really timeless and also weirdly perfect for this AI age we're entering.
Yeah, it's interesting. He says he typically starts with user problems, obviously, and his own intuition. Then he sketches on paper.
Paper. In 2024, why paper?
Because, as he puts it, paper is super flexible and completely unconstrained. You're not limited by the tools on a screen. He also notes it's super approachable for non-designers. Anyone can pick up a pen. It just lets you imagine anything without friction.
Makes sense. Get the raw idea down first. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. He then moves very quickly from that rough sketch to playing with it as high fidelity as possible. Sometimes, he says, even jumping straight into a code editor to actually feel the design in action.
Yeah, that feeling a design. He talks about it involving an intuition for interaction, respecting user expectations, platform conventions, so people don't have to relearn everything from scratch, but also knowing when and how to push the boundaries a bit.
Finding that balance between familiar and novel.
Exactly. The goal is to build something that feels, in his words, right, fun and novel, but still familiar. And connecting this to the bigger picture, Raphael suggests that the value of that initial physical sketch might actually become even more important in the AI era.
How so?
Well, imagine. You jot down an idea, quickly sketch the interface on paper, snap a picture with your phone, and maybe you upload that picture directly to an AI design tool that turns it into a working prototype or even initial code, skipping a whole bunch of intermediate steps.
Wow, sketched reality powered by AI.
Potentially. It really comes back to focusing on solving the user problem first and finding innovative ways to get there, leveraging whatever tools make sense, including AI.
Okay, so what does all this mean? Wrapping things up. We've seen this incredible explosion, really, of AI native interfaces just in the last few months. We're moving way beyond simple chat. We're into these dynamic, action-oriented verbs. From voice agents that adapt mid-conversation, to visual canvases for choreographing autonomous AI, to tools that generate entire designs, even videos, from just a few words. The future of how we interact with software feels like it's arriving very fast.
It really does. And stepping back, Raphael Shad's insights are such a good reminder that truly great design, especially in this AI era, it's about so much more than just how things look, the aesthetics. It's deeply about how the product works, how it's built, and ultimately how effectively it solves real human problems. It's about cultivating that design mind, as he suggests, learning by doing, surrounding yourself with well-designed things, understanding those foundational principles, that sensibility, that skill set. It feels like it's going to be one of the most crucial things for the next generation companies, whether you have designer in your job title or not.
It really does feel like a pivotal moment, doesn't it? Almost like maybe 2010 or so, when touch devices suddenly forced everyone to rethink everything about interfaces. Now, AI feels like it's doing that all over again for all software, ushering in this era of verbs. So here's maybe a final thought for you to mull over. If AI can now design and even build significant parts of our interfaces, how do we make sure these interfaces reflect more than just raw efficiency? How do we bake in those nuanced human values, the intuition, even that subtle taste that Raphael talks about? How does the art of design evolve when the tools themselves become collaborators, even designers? And how do we as humans maintain our unique touch, our perspective in this increasingly collaborative future between us and the machines? That's all for this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed this exploration into the future of AI interfaces and the timeless principles of great design. Hit like and subscribe if you like the content. See you next time.